The Coon Rapids City Council has been hearing arguments for and against its residents owning chickens for years. On May 3rd, Ben Hiltner and possibly hundreds of others in support of bringing chickens to Coon Rapids got the answer they've been waiting for.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries.
The number of people who are excited, it's really pretty amazing to have seen all of that, especially for as long as it took. It makes it worth all the effort to get us to this point.
The ordinance requires a maximum of 4 chickens per household with no roosters allowed. No slaughtering is allowed on property, and there are standards for sanitary conditions. Coops and runs can be no bigger than 60 square feet in the backyard, located at least 10 feet from property lines, 30 feet from neighbors' homes, 50 feet from any well, and 6 feet from their own home or other structures. To own chickens, you have to go through a permitting process with the city. A drawing of your coop and run and a site plan of your property is required. City staff also inspects the coop and property before issuing the permit.
We'll be monitoring this, but I think from a staff perspective, we're satisfied with how things ended up.
My hope is that all the chicken owners comply with the rules, follow the rules, stick very strictly to them. That's the best thing we can do to help bring goodwill towards chickens in Coon Rapids.
Hiltner says the reasons for having chickens vary as much as the ways people like their eggs cooked.
Well, for some people, it's just an educational thing. They like to know where their food came from. They like their kids to know where their food came from. For a lot of people, it's a nutritional thing. They want to control every part of their diet from the very beginning to the end. And so, in the same way, a lot of people like organic gardening of their vegetables or fruits or whatever it is. Eggs is just this next natural step that a lot of people take.
There's a growing awareness about growing your own food, raising your own food. And so our council wanted to encourage that and was, I think, very thoughtful about adopting an ordinance that, allows people to do that, but also puts some limitations in place. So kind of a balancing act between those two priorities. We're going to be doing more outreach in terms of letting people know what the requirements are.
Part of that outreach extends to Anoka Ramsey Farm and Garden owner Tom Tidrick, who teaches classes on how to care for chickens. He says he's seen potential owners flock to his store with each ordinance passed.
It was largely agriculture here, so you did sell chickens, but it was more meat type chickens and some birds for laying. The sales were larger, there was more birds. Today people are buying 5 to 8 birds, most of them, and there's just a lot more people buying them.
With many first-time chicken owners, he gives a quick lesson to anyone who needs it.
We start right with the basics, how to take care of chicks. We give them all the information on the kinds of chicks. The most important thing I tell people is to keep your coop dry.
Tidrick says the chicken's diet can play a large role in their health and egg production.
Keep the protein levels of the feed where they need to be. And that's roughly 20% on chicks, younger birds, and as they become adults, you lower the protein, increase the calcium for good, strong eggs. Fresh food and water is very important. You do not want to leave the birds without food and water.
And containing them in the coop could keep them clucking.
If you're there doing other things, the birds certainly can free range, but if you're not there to let them loose, there's all sorts of things that can happen, predators.
He says people get chickens at a variety of different ages, but they primarily only lay eggs between the ages of 6 months and 2 years. And he says eggs aren't the only useful product hens create.
Chicken manure is excellent. It's one of the best gardening manures that you can buy. It does need to be aged slightly, but we have found that it grows huge tomatoes, peppers, and other vegetables. So I'd really encourage people in our classes to compost and use their chicken manure as much as they can.
Tidrick says he's happy to see the ordinance passed, and not just because it brings in business.
Gives people the opportunity to experience the backyard chicken hobby. It's an excellent hobby for kids, and I think it really brings neighborhoods together because a lot of people are just not familiar with chickens, and they love to talk about them.